Good Sunday evening. I'm NTV Chief Meteorologist Eddie Shearer. Now about 10 p.m. Hope you had a lovely Easter or Passover. Some of us have to get back to work tomorrow, like me. Some have the luxury of having a day off. I hope you're one of those people. A lot of folks have been wondering, is this week going to bring some wintry weather? There are rumors flying around everywhere. And the answer is yes, it will. And in some areas, we're talking about the potential for some heavy snowfall. In other areas, the potential for heavy ice accumulation. And in other areas, just plain old rain. And I'll try and answer some of those questions for you this evening, but it's still a bit early to get really specific as far as details and amounts on the rain and the snow and the ice. However, speaking of ice, took this picture today, Fort Amherst. That's an iceberg just beyond the lighthouse. Very, very cool to see that there today. Early for icebergs on the Avalon for sure, but I suspect over the coming weeks we're going to see a little bit more iceberg activity starting to show up because winds are going to be northeasterly and northerly for several days, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of icebergs currently north and east of Newfoundland. So they should start to show up over the coming days, weeks. If you like taking iceberg pictures, I think it looks like we're setting up to have a good iceberg season. Last year, we really didn't. Right now, we're looking at some showers across areas of western Newfoundland as we take a look at the Weather Center on NTV's webpage. If you ever want to track the weather, this is a great resource to do so. Showers there will end overnight, and then tomorrow we'll see showers for southern and eastern areas. But what I want to talk about is temperatures. Still warm for the west coast. Some of those areas today getting into the middle and upper teens. Eastern areas, we're about as warm now as we have been all day. 11 in St. John's at the moment. We were 4 or 5 through much of the day, but those winds turn westerly. Tomorrow, we should climb into the middle and upper teens, even on the Northeast Avalon. This computer model showing only 12 tomorrow afternoon, but I think it's a little bit underdone so far as the temperatures go. We'll see if my hunch on that is correct. But notice what happens in the evening. As temperatures rapidly fall, and that's because the wind direction, you can see it there, goes from westerly to northerly, which means temperatures will go from warm to cold with the snap of a finger between like 7 and 8 o'clock tomorrow evening on the Northeast Avalon and in the metro. So if you're planning on going downtown for a walk, or maybe taking your motorcycle for a ride tomorrow evening, or taking the dog for a walk, and you think it's warm and it's at 6, 7 o'clock hour, bring an extra layer of clothing because you will need it. It will go from warm to very cold rather quickly. And I would assume as the winds turn northerly, initially we may get a period of some fairly dense fog. Now, typically we don't get a lot of fog on northerly winds, but when the air cools down that quickly, we might. So certainly keep that in mind as well. Areas of central Newfoundland tomorrow, you're going to be into the middle and upper teens. West coast, not going to be quite as warm tomorrow as we were today. And then we start to cool things down on Tuesday. We're low single digits for eastern Newfoundland and along the coastline. A little bit warmer interior and northeast and west. And then after Tuesday, well, we're kind of near freezing for several days as we have the onshore winds kicking in. And the reason for that is going to be a couple of lows passing through and a very kind of stagnant weather pattern. And this is the setup that's going to bring the potential for wintry weather as we go into Tuesday night, Wednesday, into Thursday morning. And again, it looks like Thursday, potentially into Friday, and maybe Saturday in some areas. So as we go throughout the day tomorrow, we're just looking at a few showers for southern and eastern Newfoundland, nothing to worry about. As we go through Tuesday, really through most of the day, nothing to worry about. By Tuesday evening, we may begin to see some areas of freezing rain or freezing drizzle developing across eastern Newfoundland and into central areas, perhaps a bit of light snow. And basically the setup as we go into Tuesday night is going to be one that has the potential to bring a lot of icing to areas of eastern Newfoundland where the air is not quite cold enough for snow, but the lower levels can support temperatures near freezing just because of the overall wind pattern. While areas of central, the cold air is a bit deeper, we see a better chance of accumulating snowfall. And the reason for that is this area of high pressure is sitting up here in Labrador like this, and the flow around it becomes more northerly and northeasterly, which helps to push in that cold air off the Atlantic, which drives the freezing rain threat for eastern and northeastern areas of Newfoundland, somewhere like that, while areas back into central, western, northwestern areas, and even southern Labrador have the potential of seeing significant snowfall. And that's essentially what this computer model is showing developing Tuesday night. So this is Tuesday night. This is the forecast for 3:30 in the morning on Wednesday, so Tuesday night. Widespread ice pellet freezing rain across the Avalon Peninsula, northern parts of the Burin Peninsula. I know it's a bit hard to see, back into interior Newfoundland. And then we have the snow into central areas, west coast, northern peninsula, and rain for southern areas a little bit closer to the low where the winds are a bit more southeasterly instead of northeasterly. And as we go into Wednesday morning, notice how dark the colors are. This is the computer model indicating the potential for heavy freezing rain across portions of interior Newfoundland to the Bonavista Peninsula and northern parts of the Avalon. This is what I'm worried about Tuesday night through midday Wednesday is going to be the potential for an extended period of freezing rain for eastern and potentially parts of northeastern and interior Newfoundland, while areas of central see predominantly snow, and it looks like there could be a lot of it. Wednesday afternoon, depending on the track of the low, we may go over to plain old rain across eastern areas if we get the warm front to lift through. And the warm front on Wednesday afternoon will be sitting somewhere. Let's see if I can draw it out for you. The warm front Wednesday afternoon will be extending from the low, which you can see here, and to be sitting somewhere like this is what the computer model is showing. But the potential, that's really ugly, but anyway, you kind of get the point. This is warm air south of it and cold air north of it, so the wind pattern is kind of doing something like this. So north of the front we got northeasterlies, and south of it we have winds that are more southerly. But a lot of times computer models will warm things up too quickly along and near the warm front. So if the warm front hasn't actually cleared by Wednesday afternoon, we could still be sitting in freezing rain for eastern and northeastern Newfoundland, and the snow would be back through central like it still is showing, and it's going to be a pretty nasty day, and we could be talking about, again, very significant amounts of snow. As we go into Wednesday afternoon, it looks like we're done with round one, and then as we go into Thursday, another area of low pressure moves by, this one a little bit more uncertain in its track, and that could bring snow and or rain to a good chunk of the island depending on the low's track. And then we're kind of dry-ish later Friday, and then maybe another round coming in for Saturday and Sunday. So we're not done with winter just yet. We're not going to worry about the forecast for next weekend right now, but keep in mind this computer model this time is showing will be another significant snowfall later in the season. Something we can look at to see how certain an outcome is from an area of low pressure is looking at the ensembles. So this is the European ensembles, or the ECNWF model ensemble forecast. So you take a model, the European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasting, which is what the ECNWF stands for, runs that model 52 times. Each model is tweaked a little differently, and you see where you have what you call consensus. So as we go into Wednesday, we have pretty good consensus of our low into the Gulf of St. Lawrence, and it passes offshore Wednesday evening. The second low coming in Thursday, notice the low positions are a lot more spread out and a lot more south. And if we actually go back to this model here, this is showing Thursday's low a little bit farther north. But the ensemble members are a little bit farther south, which means there is a better potential in my mind for snow and ice Thursday than this is currently showing. So that's also something to keep in mind, as we might not be done with everything as we go into Wednesday afternoon. We can also look at another computer model, which is a little bit better of a representation of, I think, what we're actually going to see. If you recall me saying that there could be a prolonged period of freezing rain, well, this is what I'm kind of worried about. So this is the RGEM model from Environment Canada. There's our low, very similar to the ECNWF forecast, as I was just showing you. But notice as we get into Wednesday or Tuesday night, here comes the freezing rain for a good chunk of the Avalon Peninsula, Burin Peninsula, and the South Coast. So this model is showing a lot more in the way of freezing rain farther south as we go into Wednesday morning than some of the other guidance was. A bit of ice pellet in between and snow through central. And this will continue, it looks like, through the day Wednesday. And until that warm front, and you can see it right there, there's that kink in the isobar. So you're looking at the warm front. There's a low right there. The warm front in this model stays south, which means all these areas see a prolonged period of ice and or snow, and that's pretty much what we see. Oh, I want to zoom out. And that's pretty much what we see as we head into Tuesday night and Wednesday. So that's what we're left with at the moment. So it's a very interesting forecast shaping up for the mid part of the week. A lot of information. Been going on for 10 minutes now. 10 minutes! I'm sure some of you have watched this all, and some probably tuned out after a couple minutes. But either way, potential is there for wintry weather. It looks like freezing rain is the biggest threat for the Avalon Peninsula, Burin Peninsula, parts of the South Coast, Tuesday night through Wednesday, and perhaps even into Wednesday night. In areas of central and western Newfoundland, you are under the threat for some heavy snow in that same time frame. And we could be talking about snow blowable to plowable amounts, and that's only round 1. Talk about round 2 in more detail as that gets a bit clearer, but right now that is a bit fuzzy. All right, hope you found this informative. Game of Thrones comes on in 19 minutes, so I need to get upstairs and watch it, or I think my better half, Susan, is not going to be overly thrilled with me. All right, folks, have a great evening, and stay tuned for more updates as always.